Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of our podcast. Today, we are going to talk about AI. Everything is AI right now, right? But today, we are going to have a very deep conversation with someone who has been looking into AI for a while. Virgil, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
I'm not going to say too many things about you because I just want to let you present yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why is AI so relevant for you?
Well, I've been working professionally with AI for more than 15 years now. Actually, I started with AI for autonomous robots back in my university days. I spent about a decade in academia, about half a decade in corporate, and I also did between these like startups, consulting, and several other things. I was in some unicorn startups too, and I'm actually in a startup right now. But yeah, I've throughout my career in the last 15 years, I've been working with AI during boom and bust cycles, during the AI winters, and so on. And yeah, now generative AI has taken the world by storm in the last few years, and I think it's an amazing thing.
Definitely. And one of the cool things is actually AI is nothing something very new. You know, I've been hearing a lot of my engineers that were talking about AI years ago. Back in the college, our teachers were talking about the AI revolution, and that was like 12 years ago. And it was a thing back then, but it was quite under the radar, to say so. It was not that popular.
Oh, yeah.
How much have we transitioned through that point?
Well, if you really want to go how old AI is, we can go back to the late 70s and 80s when I wasn't born yet. I'm not that old. But yeah, AI was already becoming a thing back then, and they were defining artificial neural networks. But they had the right ideas, but they didn't have the computing power. And on top of that, before the age of the internet, you really didn't have the data to train something like this. So, yeah, in the past 12 years or so, we've gone from very shallow networks trained on little data to very big, deep networks. You've heard like GPTs are billions of parameters and so on. Some people say we'll reach trillions of parameters. Yeah, scale has changed. Scale, and by adapting the architectures to better fit the scale, we've reached new heights in performance. And yeah, it's basically the whole industry of AI has relied so much on scale, and it might be saying, oh, it's just a bigger computer, but it's not just a bigger computer, because to take advantage of the best computers and the best data, you need to have the best algorithms. So yeah, that's what changed. We've learned how to exploit this change in computing scale.
Well, about this, what we learn, I'm curious. It feels like we just, we just passed a major milestone, because that's the way how it feels. It was quiet until a few years ago, and after that, boom, everything was exponential. Of course, it's a lot of marketing, it's a lot of investing.
Hype cycles.
Hype cycles, yes. But it feels like, or maybe I'm wrong, it feels like we achieved something that unlocked a lot more after that stage. Is it so, or it's just the buzz that, once you hit that milestone, everything is just so popular, so trendy, and everyone is so curious. So did we actually pass any major milestone or not?
Well, I would say we made a major breakthrough in how computers understand context. Like when not GPT-4, but GPT 3.5, when ChatGPT launched, it was actually a great demonstration of a few research directions that were going on at the time that were showing people that computers can finally not only understand one single context, but mix contexts together. So the computer can bring some context from its training data, you bring some new context with your prompts, and they are meshed together into something new. And generative AI, which is not a buzzword, it's exactly a new type of AI that had been going on since, I don't know, the mid 2010s. It was kind of like when it started to get going. You can find earlier examples. But towards the end of the 2010s, we finally cracked it scientifically, and then product-wise, ChatGPT with GPT 3.5 was more of a tech demo, but it proved that you can get context in the computer. Language models, large language models came of age, and they became useful because of this.
Well, that were just the warm-up questions.
Of course.
We are not going to talk about generalities about everything AI.
Oh, I can fill 12 hours with this kind of stuff.
Definitely, we don't have 12 hours. But what I am interested in talking about is how is AI changing the world of coding, the engineering part. So, of course, you can use AI in various ways, for various reasons, for various results. But how is right now AI influencing and eventually changing forever the coding?
Well, coding itself is being fundamentally changed in terms of speed, definitely. Like speed of delivery of code is increasing massively thanks to AI. Because as I said before, it's about context, right? A lot of coding is about taking something from one context and putting it in a different kind of context, in a context that may be understandable for the machine, a context that may be better for the product, and so on. Because of this, some have been quick to proclaim, the death of software engineering as a job, the death of coding. But I actually believe the opposite is happening. As coding becomes faster and more accessible, more people will get into coding, more people will start to understand computers better, and there'll be, at some point, a lot more to do.
So, yeah, definitely. But let's imagine that we are just fresh students in computer science faculty or somewhere in the world. It doesn't matter, not in the bus center of AI in Silicon Valley, but somewhere in the world. And of course, you have access to AI. You're doing your projects with AI because probably it's more easy. You rely on AI for a lot of documentation, a lot of your learning process. But eventually, this is going to affect you. Am I right? So is it the way that we use AI as early coders right now, is it the efficient way? Is it a better way to look at AI right now? How do you see this?
So if you're a student right now, you should be using AI, right? But you shouldn't be using AI just to complete your homework ahead of schedule and just slack off. You should be using the context awareness of AI to better understand your assignments, your lessons, everything. And in fact, I was happy to see a statistic recently that at least across Europe and America, you see about 65% of students using AI, which is great in my opinion. Some professors might say, oh no, that means it's the death of homework or something like that. But I really, really think that the best students can use AI to better understand the material and reach new heights in this direction. Like when we were students, like you had textbooks still, you had the internet resources were kind of half there, but you saw the same kind of fear towards using the internet back then. 15, 20 years ago, you saw professors terrified. Oh, you shouldn't use Wikipedia. You shouldn't use anything online because it's not reliable. You should just buy this textbook or do this, do that. It's the same kind of story right now. Of course, you can't believe everything AI outputs you. You can't believe everything you read online. You can't believe everything you read in books. You can't believe everything you hear on TV or see on TV or on the radio or in newspapers and so on. Like, this all goes back to media literacy. You need to have media literacy to understand what you are reading. whether it's from AI, it's from a book, a textbook, hearing from a professor. You need to be able to evaluate yourself if that's something you are going to internalize and understand. Now, in terms of how fresh computer science graduates are going to be entering the job market, yes, AI is going to be a big disruptor of the industry. One thing you can certainly say is that the industry will be forever changed by AI coding. But I don't think that means that there will be no jobs for them at all. If the economy goes up, the economy goes down, that influences the job market way more than the availability of the technologies. And I would honestly just advise any junior right now to use AI as much as they can to understand the code that they're doing. And maybe if they have some ideas, especially creative ideas, like creative coding ideas, you want to do something with a map. You want to do something with, I don't know, online shopping. You want to find your a better camera gear for you and make some crawler online. Implement all those ideas with AI. Make them as low risk as possible. Like if they fail, they don't bankrupt you or anything like that. But try to implement as much with AI so you can feel the limits of AI with your own fingers.
Speaking of coding and implementing, I know we have talked about this. So how many directions? I think there are 3 directions in which AI coding is split right now. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, we've already discussed a little bit in this direction privately, but yeah, I believe there's these 3 major directions which have popped up, and I don't like that in general you see in the media that's being talked, it's just AI coding, this big blob, but it's not really. The 3 major directions that I see are, vibe coding. Brought to prominence, I think he actually coined the term, Andrei Karpathy, on X. He posted about this. And the vibe coding idea is that you just instruct the AI to do things to the code, and if it doesn't feel right, you just go back, erase huge chunks of code. Why does it matter? Because, hey, it takes you 10 seconds to generate another 100 lines of code, so it won't matter that you deleted them. So coding by vibing and trying to find the best vibe to realize your idea, very valid system. It's quite popular right now. It's at the peak of the hype cycle, I think. But equally important, I think, are the other 2 types of AI coding, like coding with autocomplete. Okay. Like in general, I've noticed that a lot of people, especially more senior developers, they like to code with AI, things that they already know how to do. They visualize the path to it, but they don't want to write so many lines of boilerplate code and things they've already done before. So they use AI to finish every step that they take. And that actually speeds them up greatly. Like we're seeing 3x gains in performance just using this technique, like 3 times faster, not 30%, 3 times faster coding using autocomplete. And that's what I've seen in a lot of people who kind of don't trust AI fully to vibe code, and they want more reliable code, so they autocomplete. And another one that I've seen, especially in people who have multilateral knowledge, it's the gap crossing, I like to call it, in which they have, these islands or pockets of knowledge, and they'd like to connect them. They've done well in their jobs until that point. They know some things very, very well, but they don't know how to jump from island to island of knowledge. And they use AI to do that. And yeah, sometimes those bridges they build with AI fall apart, but it's part of the learning process. They learn what to do better. And they can become, I don't know, from somebody who knows a little front end, a little back end, and a little AI coding, they can bridge them together and create like this impromptu full stack experience.
Well, is this something that will speed up things into production, or it will just reduce costs? Of course, time equals cost for the client, of course. But is this something that right now we if you have 100 engineers, is this actually going to work like I'm gonna produce more, I'm going to be more efficient as a team, or should I reduce the team to like 80 people because things are done faster? I can then finish this and move to the next project, the next project, the next project. How do you see this from someone who is very into the heart of things right now?
This really depends on the company. Like especially delivery-oriented companies will want to optimize costs a lot, and outsourcing companies or these big multinational corporations that have crunch numbers and have a spreadsheet with the efficiency of the coders. I will say for certain that if you want to get with an idea from 0 to 1, you can vibe code your way to it. And that's amazing, and that's going to help a lot of companies realize prototypes faster. And startups too, absolutely, they need to use vibe coding as much as possible to accelerate. The other two types of coding are a bit more involved, and yeah, they will help you get from 1 to N to scale your products. You still need to write good unit tests, but you can do it with AI. You need to properly define the cybersecurity parameters of your project. You need to define the infrastructure. It's all complex stuff. I would discourage everyone from reducing the size of the team just because they saw the increase in speed, especially because they are, there's so much knowledge in your employees, especially in software, that's not necessarily documented, not because they don't want to write it down, but because it's in the background of their mind. Mm-hmm. And if you reduce the team, it's not that 5 people are going to be able to do the job of 8 people. Those 5 people might be less efficient because they've lost organizational knowledge from the project when you fired those extra 3 people. And they're not extra. Yes, you finish the project faster. Yes, you can build more features. I think the best approach for this would be to, scope your projects better and take into account the speed up, not necessarily to add more features. Feature creep is something to be avoided, but to build a better product, a higher quality product in this time. And I do have kind of like a more brutal take. I do think like some people should be fired are those people that, are like, especially the managers you see in large corporations and large institutions that say, I will fire anyone who uses ChatGPT. You're banned from using AI in this office. You're banned from it. I think this is something you cannot afford to have in leadership. Like in your leadership team, your ICs can express opinions like this. Individual contributors have all sorts of varied opinions. But when your leadership team has an anti-AI perspective for no rational reason, it's going to be a big problem. And yes, you can have, data privacy issues. You have, yes. You can outline your own data policy. You say, we can only use local models. We can't use models from this source. We can't use this company. But there's so many solutions to this. Like the major consulting groups have already drafted up plans and reports on this. You can just download them. They're freely available online. There's no reason, like 2-3 years into the new Gen AI boom, why you should be so afraid of AI that you outright ban it. You should adapt it.
One question that I think is right now on the lips of everyone. Of course, we talked about AI is going to replace us. Definitely, we have answered this. That's my opinion also. No, it's just going to help us being better.
I mean, if I may, it's humans underestimate themselves. Yeah. I've seen these comparisons online, and a lot of people have expressed them offline too. Like, the car replaced the horse. And that's why people should be afraid about their jobs, because just like the horse, they will lose their jobs. And I'm just looking at these takes and just thinking like, you're not a horse. Like the horse driver became a car driver afterwards. And You know, people don't need to consider themselves horses. I mean, I'm sure some people consider their employees to be like horses, but they're not. Humans are wondrous. They are underestimating themselves. Other people underestimate humans. They're way, way more advanced, and the versatility of humans can't be easily replaced, you know, by a toaster, basically.
Well, definitely the car gave to the horse driver extra powers. Right now you're a truck driver. You have multiple jobs right now
Yeah.
because engine eventually gave us a lot of more opportunities. And about superpowers, that was my question. So when you develop a product, you have two types of, you actually have many actors, but two major actors. So is the one who actually build the product, who are the engineers, the QA, the DevOps, so the engineering part. And you also have the product manager who understands the actual business needs, requirements of the product, understands how, or should understand how the product will work in real life. Which one do you think will get the most superpower? The product managers that right now can rely on AI to help them build actual some prototypes and do some coding instead of them, because we know that product managers are not good coders or even not at all coders? Or will the coders, the engineers, have more product management skills, like AI will help them more on this product management part? What's
Well,
your take on this?
in one sentence, I hope it will help them communicate better, like product and tech, because they will better understand each other. And I've already seen this, especially in remote teams, you know, because they communicate by text asynchronously. And I've seen people just take the snippets of the reports and the text that they've received and try to use ChatGPT or Claude or something to get to a better understanding. Oh, my product manager sent me this. What the hell is he talking about? And they do get to a better understanding like this. This is amazing. But I'd like to continue with, you said something very interesting about cars, like it gave car drivers power. I think we're at the point where if you want to make an abstraction, you can say that AI models right now are intellectual power tools, right? So you have an intellectual drill, a power drill, that's intellectual power drill. It will help you not drill through a wall, but drill through a problem, drill through text, drill through images, drill through concepts, all of that. How is that going to impact everyone's job? Of course, it's going to help them make things faster. But in construction, where you already have power equipment for 150 years at this point, I think, probably more. Historians in the comments, please comment. When that happened, it changed their perspective of both the builders and the architects and the designers, right? Everyone knew about the power tools and was able to kind of leverage the productivity gains. Zooming back into the question about product managers and so on. Product managers, first of all, will know like the speed of implementation might be better, but I wouldn't hazard to say like necessarily it's the speed of the existing features, but again, maybe they can build better features with AI, and they know their coders will be able to code better features. And it's true, it's rare to see a product manager that codes, but there are a lot of product managers who use no-code tools already. They've used them before, they've been using them for past decade or so. You've seen them use them, and they implement their prototypes. They sometimes implement things to record, to do screen recording, and just put those in the presentations, put those in the reports, put those in the requirements. That's great, and I think those people will benefit the most from AI because they're not necessarily locked into the no-code tool right now. They can build their design prototype even with a little functionality and explore the functionality too with vibe coding. Totally okay. As long as you don't put it online, do not put it online, open for everyone to hack and so on. Keep it internal. It's perfect for that. And those product managers that are able to do that are just going to go to the next level. It might need to define a new level of product management for those kind of people. I don't see those people stepping out of product and just going to go do debugging and see why the AWS instances are failing and so on. I don't see that happening, but it's product management is still relatively new as a discipline, as a specialization. It's still being defined to some extent. And it's weird because you see, depending on what culture you go to, you see product management being defined like a career track for people who came from design, from people who came from project management, or some say it's a technical, career track. And it's an offshoot, like you branch off from the technical side and become a product manager. And I've even seen in some places it's defined as a marketing career track, which is weird in my opinion. Like, not saying that there are not people with a marketing background that are great product managers. There definitely are. But it's, in my opinion, unusual to think from this direction. And yeah, we'll see all these people maybe come together, coalesce. Maybe product will become, instead of being an offshoot from multiple sides, become more of a specialization. And with the addition of vibe coding, who knows? Maybe we'll see vibe coding courses for them and in the university, so they get with some prototyping ability right out of university, and you see junior product managers who can prototype effectively. I think that would be amazing to see. And I think the coders would be happy to collaborate with those people too.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen some revolutions in engineering, in everything that is connected to technology. You have seen many more than I do. But whenever a revolution, so-called revolution, a major step forward is made, software development companies, so the providers, those who build the actual software, they became better and better equipped. They promised better quality, better speed, probably better costs. I don't know. Again, time is money. Whenever you're speaking, quality, of course, they improve their quality. But right now, we just put a major game changer into the equation. So AI, we just covered a few topics, and AI is going to change how we are coding, is going to give us more tools, is going to enhance our product management skills, is going to enhance everything. So going back to the software development companies that approach a new client, what do you think their new promise is? Like an app in 3 days? Is it realistic? The best app you have ever seen? The work of 10 made by one? What do you think is going to be the value proposition that those software development companies are going to give to their customers?
Well, I think that comes down to a choice at the level of the company itself. Quality isn't guaranteed through AI. Speed isn't guaranteed through AI, or at least speed to correct product. AI models are very fast. You can output some complete gibberish very, very fast, but you have to know what good looks like. And that's a big topic that everyone kind of glosses over when you're using it. If you go to an image generator, you go to Midjourney, you can generate a image that looks pretty, and you give it to an artist that has the background, has the knowledge, has the domain knowledge to evaluate that image and says, oh, look, that's bad because this, and that is bad. The same way with code. You give somebody code and you say, oh, this doesn't really accomplish the task that you set out. You gave it a prompt to do this. You gave it a prompt to clone TikTok, but you didn't clone TikTok. You just made a video player, right? People need to be able to evaluate good. And at the company level, it's up to the company strategy itself to be explicitly and consciously defined as something that focuses on speed, something that focuses on quality. Of course, AI is changing the value proposition for these companies. But I hope the first thing that's going to change is the drop in the number of failed projects. It's very, very common even now, like especially companies that provide strictly development services for other companies. Number of failed projects is huge in the industry, like at an industry level. Some companies are very good at this. They have very few failed projects. I don't believe any company has zero failed projects at the moment, but I'm hoping at an industry level, we'll see more companies actually realize what they are promising to the clients, and the projects will be better scoped because of this. With AI scoping, with the AI coding included, and so on, I believe there's going to be an increase in quality from this point of view. Now, what do you say with quality? I just said you have to know what good looks like, right? What do you say? How do you get to understand what good looks like? And you can only do that through experience. There's quality is an emergent property from evaluating quantity. It's an exercise I really liked to give to students in general when I'm teaching a course or giving like a homework, is like split the group half through, and half of them need to complete the homework perfectly. Like they need to give a perfect answer to the question that was given to their homework. And the other half need to come up with 50 answers that they consider good enough for that same question. What you invariably see, not at the individual level, but at the statistical level, at the group level, is that the ones that go through 50 answers usually find one of those answers is better than the ones that came up with the perfect answer. And if you extrapolate this kind of exercise to the industry, like take it to a different context level, you will see that being able to go through more iterations of a project, faster time to delivery, shorter iterations will invariably lead to better outcomes, in my opinion. Now, the form of those outcomes, if that's going to be a shorter project time or better quality or something, that's up to the strategy of the company. And yeah, everyone will define their own value proposition in this.
Well, I remember that 10, 15 years ago, it was everything. You are just a software engineer. Right now, well, not right now, but probably 1 or 2 years ago, everyone was .NET engineers, Java engineers, Node.js engineers, JavaScript, full stack. A lot of names, because you just start focusing more and more on one particular thing. And when you go to the interview, you're just going to be asking questions about .NET. You're going to be asked questions about Python or whatever is your...
What technologies do you know?
Exactly. But is it still a relevant thing nowadays? Or not now, but in a year or two from now on, is it relevant to have an interview over an open position for, I don't know, a Node.js position? Because you have your app in Node.js and you have to continue this. Is it still relevant to look only at engineers that have Node.js experience? Or could you just look at very strong engineers that have, I don't know, 10 years of experience on whatever they have it, and just ask them, how would you use AI to enhance your coding skills and start learning Node.js? Because, well, right now we can do that much faster. Is it something that we should look at?
I would argue that it was always kind of a bad metric to just count the number of technologies that a person knows. It was easy, right? It's easy at the company level, because if you really want to evaluate your candidate, right, you need to bring in somebody who is better than the candidate you're evaluating.
Definitely.
That's the best evaluation that you can make. But that's not always possible. So the recruitment process kind of, I don't want to blame any specific department or any specific specialization. It just naturally falls back to this technology because it's a quantitative measure. Oh, he worked for 15 years in Node.js. He has 5 technologies under his belt. He knows the queuing system in AWS or in GCP or something like that. These quantitative measurements helped sort the candidates. And I think it's still going to be an interesting part. Like, you can still use this quantitative measure to sort their CVs, go through their resumes and so on. I don't think that's going away. unfortunately. Because it's easy, right? And evaluating a resume with AI is kind of controversial right now for many, many reasons. There's biases. Any AI model has bias. And if you do that, it's going to be difficult. I know some companies are trying to build like better and more unbiased models, but it's touchy. And in the EU, it's actually a considered high risk AI. I don't know, in the US, I believe there's also some legislation in some states regarding this. I think that by the time you get to the interview process, this kind of evaluation on what kind of technologies you know and how many technologies you worked with and so on can just be brought down to a couple of questions about that technology. You don't have to make the whole interview about this. And more evaluate the reasoning capabilities and the systems thinking, the logical capabilities of the candidate and so on. Like, a few years ago, there was this trend to give people the fizz buzz problem, you know, like if print fizz, if the number is divided by this much, print buzz if it's divided by this much, the one for both it's fizz buzz. And you could solve it in pseudocode, you can solve it in anything. And this was interesting because it was highly controversial. Candidates were optimizing for technology knowledge. Oh, I learned React. I know to answer all the questions about React. I know to answer all the questions about, I don't know, some DevOps solution. But they were failing this very simple high school level coding challenge, basically, because they had optimized so much for this type of quantitative measure of their resumes that they had kind of let their coding skills degrade in the logical sense. Those logical coding skills are of great value when you're coding with AI, because you need to be able to follow the chain of thought. You need to be able to read the code, understand how the problem was solved, and so on. You can vibe code your way through that, definitely, but I think we'll put less accent on the technologies themselves and more accent on these logical thinking skills. And evaluating these kinds of pseudocode questions will probably grow the number of in the interviews, because it will show that people can actually think through them without AI, because AI can supplement this kind of thinking. Now, this also sometimes goes a bit ridiculous, you know, like I know some creators of frameworks, right, that failed technical interviews about their own framework because the questions had been very stringent, very focused on very niche cases. Like, don't be an automaton about this. Like, don't take this as a company policy and just go with it. If the creator of a framework you want to use is interviewing with you, kind of think through and think why he can't answer that question and try to apply a human angle to the interviews too. Otherwise, you know, just let the AI do it.
Well, I think one of the best answers that I had recently into an interview was, inevitably the question was, how many years of experience do you have with this particular technology?
Yeah.
And it was a very good answer. He said like, well, first of all, I have 15 years of experience as a software engineer in general. And I think that's relevant. Second of all, yeah, I've been playing around with this for the last year, but I am an engineer for the last 15 years. And I think that was a pretty good answer, actually. And I think a lot of answers will be like that in the future, because in the end, if you need that skill, you need to know that technology. I think you should ask like, okay, you don't know it. Show me how you use an AI to solve this problem with using this technology. And you have to rely on your resources, internal resources and experience in order to prompt that AI and help you build that solution that is required. Is this something that you see feasible to do?
Yes, and I actually am very glad you brought that up, because this kind of falls into another point I wanted to make about AI coding and AI models. And it's that they are very eager to please you, right? They have in the industry, it's called sycophancy score and so on. Like, they are very eager to please the user. Very rarely will an AI model contradict you. So if you prompt the AI to do something in a technology you're not familiar with, how do you know it will follow the right design pattern, right? Because you gave it something, it's biased towards pleasing you,
Yeah.
and it will follow your instructions, but maybe your instructions are guiding it on a bad path to a bad solution to the problem. And that you can evaluate in the interview, right? You can immediately spot that the person chose a bad design pattern, regardless of the technical solution that came through, right? It's, the coding implementation doesn't matter much if the architecture is wrong.
Yeah, well, it relies to the logical patterns, like positive truth implies only truth, but false implies everything, can imply everything. So we can prompt a false path and get actual by luck the good result, but the path was faulty. Well, that's good.
There's a lot of randomness, right?
Yes.
If you don't control every aspect of your AI generation, you are letting yourself at the mercy of the random number. Like the AI models have this random number inside. Their output is inherently statistical. So there is randomness in all the output that's happening. And what are you doing? If you don't control every aspect, are you playing slot machines? Are you just trying to pull the lever several times until you get something good? That's a valid strategy, especially in vibe coding. That's the essence of it. And you just pull it again and again and again. But maybe at some point you know what the problem is, right? And you give that guidance to the AI and you go forward after several tries and you edit the stream of conversation to get to the right solution. Valuable skill to have, like to evaluate, notice what's wrong, evaluate how good it is, and to find the solution in your mind to instruct the AI to go forward. Because otherwise, if you just feed it the error messages, everyone who has coded with AI has noticed this. AI models for coding are biased towards compilation. So they will ruin your logical flow just to make the code to compile. So you have to keep that in mind and pay a lot of attention to that.
So right now, there are a lot of AI solutions, ChatGPT, Copilot, you name it. Where should we focus now? Because I know there's a high competition between them. They now ChatGPT is in top, then the other came, and the other now is the DeepSeek. It's something crazy in the AI world. Everything is new. Whenever you think like, okay, this is it, something new pops up. How should software engineers approach this matter? Should they rely on something? Should they try them all? Wouldn't this, I don't know, dilute their expertise because they try them all and in the end they don't master anything?
Especially right now in this like very bubbly, effervescent period in which products pop in and out of existence all the time. It's like a quantum foam right now. It's good to try things and look at what people are trying out, like the new products coming out. And you mentioned Copilot. There's Cursor, there's Windsurf, there's Lovable, there's there's many coding solutions now on the market right now for both editing your code and to vibe code it. I think, first of all, you should look at the company policy. Like a lot of companies, especially big corporations, they say, oh, you can only use VS Code with Copilot. And that's fine, you use that at work. But you yourself, as an expert in the field, as an engineer, as a professional, right? You should be testing the new products, testing them at least. They have free tiers, most of them. Go on them, use the free tier. I don't think it will dilute your expertise if you just use the free tier for half an hour tops of usage, and you might notice some interesting things about them. And you might also need to look at who the solution is targeted to. I believe Lovable is a coding assistant, but it's been targeted towards more design-oriented individuals because you can build a front end, you can adjust it, and so on. While, Cursor is targeted at people who have been coding for a while and know how to configure their system and just need an extra panel there that will manage the context for you. The same way, even you don't have to limit this to software engineering. I was talking to somebody who needed advice on writing because they wanted to accelerate their writing. They are fiction writer, actually. And they were using ChatGPT specifically. And I told them, like, okay, you use ChatGPT, that's great. But, try what Claude is doing. Maybe the prose is better on that. Maybe the idea generation is better on something else. Try the Mistral models specifically for writing. The European Mistral company came out with models optimized for writing. The same way it is for coders, the same way it is for designers. Recently, in the last week, we've had two major releases from Google. We've had the Gemini with native image generation in the conversation. Amazing model, but it's more like a research demo. And then OpenAI came out with a new image generator, also conversational, built into it, which is slightly different in technology, but does things better than the research preview from Google. So, people say, oh, I'm just going to use this one. I'm just going to use the other one. I saw somebody who was designing miniatures, Warhammer miniatures, right? And the images, the ideas for miniatures that they were getting from Google Gemini with image generation, the new one, conversational one, were much better in team, much better designs, but they were unclear. They were not high resolution. So he tried ChatGPT image generation, the one that came out this week, and the results were much clearer, much nicer, but not as creative, right? So now he has to use both and try to maybe take the images from one, put them in the other, and uses them both to manage them, and then takes the final product after passing them through many iterations for these two tools, and then puts them into a 3D generator and 3D prints them, right? This week, I saw this happen. Coding is the same way. It's more esoteric to give examples like this, but you might design an app like in Lovable, make it with a very nice front end, maybe push it to something else, to Flutterflow, take that design, push it to Flutterflow, use Cursor to improve your code in that direction, make a backend code for it. So don't be afraid to use multiple tools, especially if they offer a free tier. Learn the limits. Humans are amazing at it. This is coming back to what I said. Humans are amazing at learning by themselves without any external instructions. Just by trying out, you feel the edges of the model. You don't see them. Especially because, ads and marketing will not tell you what the limits of the model are. But by using it, half an hour, you'll immediately start to feel where the limits are. And you're like, okay, there's a gap here. Can I cross this gap with another AI? That's a very valuable knowledge going forward.
Well, I think all of us should start acquire the skills of a researcher. Each of us should become more and more as a researcher and have their day-to-day job, and after that going home and play a little bit with everything and trying to discover and trying to push things further, because, well, that's a researcher does. Well, it asks some questions and tries to figure it out if they can find the answers to that questions or a solution to their problems. Well, we are approaching our end of this podcast. Is there anything you think we can cover in the last part of our talk, or is it enough for an average viewer to digest so far?
I would add one more thing. Don't be afraid to break things, especially in the virtual world, like in cyberspace. It's not that expensive. It's not going to cause major damage, especially if you're trying something. You're trying on a new product and you want to, find the best way to use it. Don't be afraid. Just use it until it breaks. Reset the product afterwards. Sure, if you do that with a car, it's going to be an expensive fix if you break the car, but people bring this legacy from the real world when they work in the computer world, in software, and they feel like, oh, I shouldn't push this too hard, it's going to break. Don't be afraid to break it. Try to do what's impossible. If you hit a roadblock, ask an AI. Maybe they will help you, maybe they will not, but just try to do as much as possible in this direction when you're doing your I don't know, weekly half an hour of exploration or so, whatever you want, which can be on the bus. You don't have to dedicate, time at home or something. Maybe you do it during your commute. Maybe you do, instead of scrolling TikTok or Reddit or something, maybe you do it during your commute and you generate some images, generate some code, have a conversation with ChatGPT with their amazing voice mode and so on. And yeah, maybe by doing this, you'll find uses for AI in your professional life and also in your personal life. Like I, for example, discovered I use AI all day at work, and now I also use it when shopping because I put my shopping list in Claude and I keep telling Claude, oh, remove this from the list, remove this from this. And the list keeps getting smaller in it. And at the end, it's a much better experience than absolutely any note app or that I've used so far.
I still have one thing, and I
Please.
kept it for the end of this video. It's recorded, so 1 year from now we can just resume it and watch it and see if you are right. Would you try to make a guess, a prediction for what major advancement, what major milestone or push forward would be for an average coder 1 year from now on in their life? Just think it a second or two, because I know you are a researcher. I know you are looking carefully into everything. You map everything, and I think you have your own feelings. I know you have your own guesses, but I want to, to squeeze them out from your mind. What do you feel? A prediction for 1 year from now on. How do you feel the average day in the life of the average software engineer will look like 1 year from now? The software engineer, so the hypothesis is he's very connected with everything that changes in the AI.
So I'm trying not to cheat at this because I know a bunch of unreleased stuff. I from talking to people in the industry and limited access programs. So one major dilemma that I see coming up is as AI models get better and better, sure, they will get more optimized, but there's also this tendency to scale through brute force, right? So I think we'll see some really expensive coding solutions, really, really expensive, kind of like you saw Devin run up costs for people and it was very expensive subscription. I think we'll see a better attempts at this, not necessarily to replace the job, but to give coders tools that will take, I don't know, dollars per generation. And at some point, with these very expensive models, software engineers will have to make a choice. Are they going to brute force this with the really expensive model to do a task and maybe fail at it? Or they will try to do it themselves in some way, either by employing lower cost models or, completely manually coding, old school at this point. That's going to be an interesting decision for them to make. I believe, people get subscription budgets and things like that. It's going to be interesting to see how people spend their subscription budgets and what choices they need to make about this. Not something most software engineers dedicate any brain space to right now, but you'll see it very soon in which Cursor will have. You saw OpenAI had O3 High, which cost many, many hundreds or even thousands of dollars per generation. Those kinds of models are coming from multiple sources, and you'll see them integrated in products. So decision time. Am I doing this with the expensive AI and failing at it and using my budget, for the week or something? Or am I doing it with, an older model, a local model, or something to that extent? I think that's going to be something people don't see coming, like this kind of decision tree. And in terms of, more technology oriented solutions, I think most people will have to start to understand a little bit about if they want to be good at this, if they want to be professionals in the software industry, they need to start understanding things like, what is the distribution of the training data of the model, which, like, whoa, some people are in DevOps, they never heard these words before, or they've coded in C their entire lives, which is admirable. And now they have to think about data distributions, stuff from data science is going to start trickling into regular software. Not to the point where you have to, become an expert in data sets and things like that, but you need to understand these concepts because AI models, they generalize, but they don't generalize outside of the distribution of their own data. But generative AI, it's just going to be able to generate something similar to what it has seen before. And the only thing that's added on top of that is the context you give it, the prompt you give it, the documents you give it. And you're going to have to become good at this and say, oh, wait, so the AI model is very good at, understanding these loops, but it doesn't know this API. I have to provide the documentation to this API. How do I provide it? Because it's huge. It's like thousands of pages. What do I take out of it? How do I select of it? Products on the market try to do this, but as the AI models get better, I think people will need to understand what they need to provide to the AI to get a good result out of it. And that seems scary. That sounds like data science, maybe even math. Unfortunately, for the ones that want to excel, want to be the best professionals in the field, they need to start understanding these concepts.
Well, that's a pretty interesting take you have here. Well, I don't have any more questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. I think it's more than valuable to say that we covered some of the aspects that many engineers are trying to understand, are trying to discover. Probably they ask themselves. And I do hope we will meet again and talk about this in a couple of months and see what's new on the market, what new discovery is there, and how wrong or correct we were right now, because everything is possible at this moment.
Oh, absolutely. And there's going to be revolutionary stuff coming in the next year or so, but it's still going to be, mostly tools. I don't see, people say the super intelligence is upon us. The machine God will come and bless us. It's in an interesting path to the future, but I think that's not in the immediate future, and we'll have to live with ourselves a little longer.
Definitely. Thank you for staying with us until this very end of the podcast. See you with our next edition, where another great topics will be discussed with experts from the industry.